Woke up this morning to somebody in a video talking about something I posted in a video. If it wasn't me, then would you even get offended? Or is it just because I'm black and heavy, y'all don't hear me though? I've been the same since I've been driving slow on Bissonnet. Call up anybody I know and they will tell you that fame is pretty new, but I've been used to people judging me. That's why I move the way I move and why I'm so in love with me. I'm used to feeling alone, so I thought that I'd let you know, in case nobody told you today, you're special, in case nobody made you believe you're special. Well, I will always love you the same. You're special. I'm so glad that you're still with us. Broken, but damn, you're still perfect. Special. Could you imagine a world where everybody's the same and you could cancel a girl cause she just wanted to change? How could you throw stones if you ain't been through a pain?
Hello, beautiful.
Hello.
You can hear and see me fine?
Yes.
Great. Well, I want to take the time to thank you for being on our platform, which is called Women in Ag Wednesday. We've been doing this actual talk show, if you will, for almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years in October, and it was intentionally done to bring awareness what minority women is doing in agriculture, or what we're doing in agriculture, because we are not recognized to what we bring to the table in the whole world, if you will. Michelle Obama, I always like to give her quote, stated, "White America act as if Black women do not exist." Well, here, as you know, and as you witnessed, and it was a part of a grand event last week, we are something unique. We are something unique, and at the same time, we're trying to save our babies, and we just need the right person to join us to get us to speak to President Biden and the White House Policy Council. And we have the solution for equity and inclusion, and that will save our babies from incarceration and death through the sustainable industry of agriculture. So I thought for my show, this show is all about you, what you actually have done. You served our country, then you turned around and now you're serving us again through the industry of agriculture. So with that being said, can you please state your full name, your military background, your agriculture background, just everything about you, and take your time.
Sure. So thank you for having me today. I really appreciate the opportunity to just have this time to talk with you. My name is Bridgette McCoy. I am CEO and founder of Women Veteran Social Justice Network, but I'm a serial entrepreneur and I served during the first Gulf War. I served 3 years in the United States Army. I had a top secret SCI clearance, and I served mostly in Europe. So that's pretty much my military experience. I was data telecom, so I was computers and technology. I'm still in computers and technology, so just switched from one industry to another.
So talk to us about how you actually see how women that served in the military could assist in the agriculture industry.
So it's really interesting that that you asked me to speak today. WVSJ as an organization, we've been involved with different or other organizations really trying to jumpstart the community as it relates to women veteran getting into agriculture. We agroponics and I'm trying to think of the other resource, but basically we had some male veterans telling us how to put some things together so that we could have like the raised boxes of fruits and vegetables and use the cans or whatever to begin to plant on our decks. And so we were starting to develop some of this conversation 2018, 2019, and then of course COVID. Now, two of our ambassadors have a lot of skill with working in some type of farming industry, and one of them is Connie Baptiste, who you met, and another is Christine Vassar. And so we were in conversations to develop something that would benefit our community and bring the next generation of our, our children and some people's grandchildren closer. And so that we felt like that would be a great opportunity. And like I said, we just hadn't had the time to like recoup from everything from 2020 actually. Connie was instrumental in doing food sustainability. We gave food items out to women and their families, and men actually, and their families during COVID. So we've been on different edges of the agriculture community, and so that's pretty much what my experience is.
Okay, so you're in Georgia, correct? What part of
I'm in
Georgia?
Georgia. Hmm.
And
I'm in Atlanta, Georgia.
you're in Atlanta? You're in Atlanta?
Yes,
Okay,
Atlanta,
awesome.
Georgia.
So in your organization, you're nationwide, or you're Georgia based, or how do you? Because my goal is, if you want to reach out to more, I want you to use this platform by any means necessary to reach more people.
Right. So, Women Veteran Social Justice Network was the first virtual, national virtual women veteran organization. We
Okay.
started in 2008 as a support to women who were using the VA system. And because our motto is identify, connect, and empower, we have a lot of space with empowerment. The goal always is to see women in the C and B suites. And what that means is want to see women leading organizations, uh, whether it's their organization, starting organizations, running nonprofits, being at the highest roles in government. So we want to see women veteran at every sector of the every sector of the civilian community workforce. And so we have a national base. We're again recuperating from COVID. We had a lot of people move actually during the time of COVID because they had to go home and stay with their family, or some other
Mhm.
dynamics happened. So we really are working on developing our national base where we have people in every single state. The great thing
Okay.
about our organization is we're a network. And
Yes.
so we don't have to have chapters. We have women veteran who are ambassadors. They represent the state
Mhm.
for
Okay.
us, and they are in their community. And so it's a community based with a within the national collective.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And I hear you loud and clear when you say COVID, the pandemic. Although the what is it, CCPD people, they have called off the pandemic restrictions. I feel that COVID is
Yes,
still live and kicking and still hurting people. How do you feel about that?
it is. It is. I'm in a lot of communities, well, for my personal work and for my entrepreneurial work, and then my nonprofit space. And so, one of the groups that I'm with is are Women Queens, and they travel all over the country, and they're women probably 15, some 20 years older than me, but I've been
Uh-huh.
welcomed into the community, so I'm happy about that. And one of the members was saying that she had gotten COVID. I mean, just within the last week or two, and
Yes.
I was like, "Oh my God!" It's not
Yeah.
over. It will never be over, and we will never go back to the way things were. And so we have to start with that in our heads
Uh-huh.
so that we take the appropriate precautions. And so it's not to say you have to be scared or anything like that, but if you're in close
Hmm.
spaces, and it might be good to put on a mask and cover your face, always have hand sanitizer, always have some little wipes, sanitizing wipes to wipe down things that you're going to be touching. Um, And then wash your hands all the time. I mean, that's really another, you know, big one. You coming in the house from being
Most
outside,
definitely.
wash your hands. It's just it's simple things that we have to do consistently to help,
Right.
ameliorate some of the height of this thing. I mean, people aren't saying that they have COVID, and so I think that that's the other part. People are just staying home. They're not reporting. They're just taking a test and they're staying at
Mhm.
home. And so the CDC and the government numbers are going to be a lot different than they were during COVID, because that was during the height of COVID, because people were
Right.
actually reporting that they had COVID. So
Okay.
that's my thoughts about it.
Well, well taken and understood. And to all of you out there listening, please, please, would you please listen to Miss McCoy, who is an actual veteran and understand all the aviances and all the dangers that's out there, especially underserved communities and minority communities. Washing your hands is just as simple as that. And I think that is a great point that you brought up, because people don't realize just touching doorknobs and pushing doors or just out in the elements, you bring it into your home and affect your whole house as a result of just not simply stopping by and washing your hands. So
Yeah,
back to the health as well, as we like to say. So with last week at the conference, talk to me about that. How did you feel about that with having the USDA leadership that actually came in from Washington, D.C. and other areas to talk about those programs that are specifically for veteran women or veterans in agriculture?
yeah. I was absolutely energized by that. I felt that the agencies had made a commitment beyond words. Sometimes I get a little frustrated because I read a
Mhm.
brochure and I get excited and call, and then the brochure and what I received when I actually went to the agency don't match. And
Right.
so to have people at the highest levels of government saying that this is an initiative that they want to make sure is highlighted within the communities was very impactful to me. And I immediately got on the phone and started calling other women veteran and saying, "Hey, what are you doing? Are you still interested in agriculture? What would you like to do? How would you like to roll this out? Because the other part of our organization that's really amazing is that we get to um, create things within the organization. So we have
Okay.
room to move around a bit. And so our women veteran usually take on a project and develop the project themselves. And then we institute it, we test it to see how, if it works and what the response was. And then we come back to the drawing board. So it's an iterative process. And so it's
Mhm.
kind of like in the design thinking sphere of work. So we just want to make sure that we're correcting things as we go through. We don't want to just say, well, we created this and this is what it is, and so it doesn't matter. We're just going to keep going through. No, we might need to tweak something. We might need to change the language. We might need to reach out to different groups of people, right? Some people may feel like they're not invited just because of the title, or because it feels exclusive to a certain age group and things of that nature. So I feel like we could really, create intergenerational understanding about agriculture and participation if we look beyond just like, I'm 53, so my children are in their 20s and 30s. So it's like moving into those communities and really getting people involved, the military children, military,
Mhm.
grandchildren and things like that. And so I think that that's a good place for us to jump in, again, as we develop these projects.
Most definitely. And I found it interesting for also at the conference last week we had in Atlanta, they brought up the benefit or the resources for spouses that are married to veterans. And
Yeah.
I intentionally structured and brought in some of the wives that were veteran, related, and they were sharing their needs, if you will. And right there, OPPE, which is the 2501 USDA Office of Public Engagement, Kenya was there, Nichols, and you were able to connect with her because their agency actually the actual olive branch that could help connect to other veteran programs in the USDA industry. Did you have a chance to talk to her?
Yeah, briefly. We haven't connected yet, but we did have an opportunity to speak briefly. I was curious about some other programs beyond just the veteran programs because I'm also a student, and so I was interested in figuring out how to bring veteran students and again bringing the community of educators and students and researchers and things like that. And so there's more to the conversation, but basically I was just seeing, how broad of a scope that the participants could be for these different programs.
So, what do you and how does your organization or you, and I don't want to go too far into that, how are you all doing or what are you doing to recruit the next generation of young people to get involved in, get connected to the military or agriculture? Like, what do you do? Like, any programs or is it just virtual, like social media? Or I just want to kind of see how people can get in contact with you.
Yeah, pretty much LinkedIn and Facebook. We're not uh, robust in that area. We post things as they come up.
Okay.
So as issues come up and things of that nature, we're going to get a little bit more traction. We had some students because we have interns. So we had some students that graduated. Again, we had some students who moved to other places and took, jobs. And like I said, there was a lot of uh, changes that were happening with the organization. But typically, we have two interns each semester, and they work with me. I coach them and mentor them, and then we develop, you know, uh, social media or different projects. And so that would probably be the first. If I was speaking from a position of planning and project management, social media would be the first place that we would start. Is just getting the word out. Did you know? Have you seen? Have you been? Are you interested? Those kinds of things. So yeah.
Would you actually, being from a military background and serving our country, would you recommend like some of our young people to, take interest in serving in the United States Armed Forces?
So I have two things to say about it. And
Okay.
one is, I would encourage people who are driven and they know kind of what they want to do and
Uh-huh.
they're willing to listen and follow instructions
Uh-huh.
at a high level. I would say those students would be a good fit for the military.
Uh-huh.
Um, Students who don't necessarily, have a lot of momentum in their day, and they're more creative and they have interests related to, tech and things like that. But they're more laid back. I would say there's opportunities at the government to do, depending on their age, right? To
Right.
do programs and internships with the government within the government agencies, and that may be more of a fit for them because I don't think that the military is for everyone.
Okay.
It can build you up. It also there are some limitations to that, right?
Uh-huh.
So I would say it depends on the student, and it just depends on their drive, how excited they would be about doing that type of work.
Well, that's interesting that you say that because I mean, this is just like a general conversation. I see so many of our children that are not in school, that are not in the
Mhm.
military, and it almost seems like that's kind of a safe haven for like those early 20 years where you're just not figuring it out. College didn't work out, and in our organization, actually, we have a program that, you can come through, and as long as you make good grades and work for us as a teenager from 16 till you get ready to go off to college. It's either college or military. We give them that option in order to stay connected, as well as help them with scholarships or get them recruited by the military. So I said that as far as how do you feel about giving those individuals of our babies that are out on the streets that's just not, don't have a clue which way to go? Or how do you feel about having them join the military?
So I am. There are so many, and if we're talking about African American organizations or
Yes.
religious organizations, there are so many African American and religious organizations that, and nonprofits that have within it a mechanism to, like you say, bring the students from 18 to 20, and then some of them have a safety net to 25.
Uh-huh.
Um, I know Georgia State had a program a few years ago, and it's probably still going on, where they took students 16 to 24 or 25, and they teach them about film and television, right? And
Okay.
so they take them and uh, have this whole program, and they go every day, and they get paid to go to school to learn, but then they also learn, I would say, a trade, because I don't know enough about the training to say exactly how deep it goes into the tech part. So there are programs, and again, I'm not saying don't go in the military. I guess from me, from a risk management point of view, as it relates to our next generation, I'm looking at, how can we strengthen and build those children, bring them to adulthood, and then strengthen them to, expand their lives beyond that. The military is a good place in general to get,
Mhm.
benefits, and, get money for school and things of that nature. At the same time, what I often tell young ladies is that, if you sit down with someone who's, educated about the community services and community programs, you can pretty much get similar resources.
Okay.
But it just depends on what it is you want to do. I mean, right now they're offering people to go free to go take cybersecurity degrees, and they're paying the college, they're paying their expenses, and then they're uh, taking this, giving them a job at the end if they complete everything, and in the government. And so that's what I'm saying. There's all these opportunities. It's still a government job. You still work for the Department of Defense.
Right.
So, these are just things that, because I coach and mentor, and I'm on campus,
Mhm.
and I'm involved with leadership development, things of that nature,
Mhm.
and I have my fingers in a lot of pies, sometimes too many. Uh, I hear things. I hear things that are available, and people sometimes offer for me to participate, and I go and check it out, and I say this is a great program, and sometimes I say, let's tweak it a little bit. Can I
Gotcha.
can I give you some feedback? So yeah. So the military has its place. It's a great opportunity for the right person, right?
I guess, and I understand exactly what you're saying. I see, just even in some of the family, my own family, when you just can't, when they're that new grown, they just became grown, and you can't tell them anything. That I looked at the military as a structure. Like they need someone to tell them what to do, because no one else on the outside could tell them anything to do, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
And I'm
it
like,
makes
you go to the
sense.
military.
Let me tell you from a different perspective,
Okay.
from a risk perspective, right?
Okay.
When you go into the military, you have to complete a couple of different things. Of course, you have to pass that MEP. You have to do the MEPs, and your health has to be, at a certain level, right? So that means these a lot of medical stuff, and disabilities, and untreated stuff. Like, if they find that out, you're not going to be eligible to go.
Right.
Okay, so that a lot of people out, right? And
Mhm.
so if they've gotten all excited about going to the military and then that happens, that's a whole nother talk show. Then the second thing is you got to go to basic training, right? And you
Mhm.
got to do, I don't remember if it was 8 weeks or 12 weeks or 10 weeks, but you got to do strenuous every single day. Get up at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning and don't come back to the barracks until 6 or 7, well, 6 or so in the evening, right? And so for some people, that structure is too much. It will break them. And I've
Oh,
seen people break and not make it in the military at the level of basic training. Okay.
wow.
And so then once you get from basic training, right, you've made it. Oh, I've made it. Well, now you're going to go to your training center where you're going to learn your trade, right? So if you go and you've been assigned to become whatever it is you're going to become, you have to meet whatever those requirements are to pass the tests,
Mhm.
right? To complete. And if you don't, then they recycle you.
Mhm.
Okay. And they only recycle you 1 or 2 times. And they may do more now, but when I was in, you just did not want to be recycled. Okay, now you've made it. You've made it past that. You've graduated. Now you got to go to permanent party.
Mhm.
You got to work with people, right? So now
Yeah.
you're working with people in your job field, but you
Mhm.
also are in the military. So you've got to be able to balance both of those. Um, you got to balance them like they're projects, right? You're
Right. Right.
working your job every day, but then they call you to go to the field, and you have to go do field training. See, it's way more. A lot of parents. It's good that we want our children to do something.
Yes.
We have become, and forgive me parents, if this is harsh, but we've become very lazy. We have not um, figured out different things that we can do with our children to try to help them to move forward. There are so many different things, and then I'm going to lean heavily on the religious organizations and the
Spirituality, yes.
black organizations. Like, we have to, it's great to, give mamas a basket, but what are we doing on the back end to mentor and help the students like actually have enough wherewithal to transition into adulthood? And
That's it.
so, and I've got 2 daughters, and and it's not easy to do that. I'm a single
Yeah.
parent. So um, uh, and if children have disabilities and they have, learning disabilities or cognitive disabilities, you do not want to put them in the military. That's not going to
This
be a
is good
good.
information. This is
Yeah.
good. You're educating.
Now some people can overcome it. I'm not saying that you can't overcome it, but it's a lot to overcome, right? And
Yes.
it doesn't. Everybody doesn't come out with all the pieces they need to survive after the military.
Right.
And that's why we have so many veterans that have to get, you know, uh,
Mhm.
service connected
Yes.
for whatever number of things, right? To their
Yes.
body, to their mental and emotional part, right? So I just want to, give a sober answer to you, because most people would just say, oh, yes, the military is great, and go to the
Oh, I
next
love
question. But
this. Yes.
so many challenges. And then there's racism in the military that's at a high level. They're
Wow.
trying to solve the problem. There's military sexual trauma that is happening. 26,000 men and women every single year are sexually
Wow.
assaulted. There is, yeah.
Scary.
So these are all there's evidence. It's evidence based. This conversation is an evidence based conversation.
Most definitely.
The data is at Rand Corporation. You can just go to the Rand Corporation and type in their search, and lots of data will come up. I'm involved with other organizations, and we do that kind of work
Yes.
to basically uncover things. And one of the things that I was, again, involved in behind the scenes was having those conversations of doing listening sessions with women veteran to, kind of pull out the information about their experiences. And
Mhm.
then we did a podcast for 3 years where we just did nothing but listen to the experiences of women veteran. And we took
Mhm.
that data and we were able to, take that information and and go to Congress and have conversations with them about, you know, how to, be culturally competent on serving women veterans specifically. So there's a lot more to that, and so I'm coming from multiple perspectives. I'm coming from a leadership perspective. I'm coming from a service connected disabled veteran perspective. I'm coming from a parent perspective. I'm coming from a lot of different. I've looked at it from different perspectives, and so I'm just giving this so that people would really
This is a
know that this is
good.
have to be serious. They have to be serious about it,
That's
because
exactly
it's a
what you
different.
said earlier. And that makes so
Mhm.
much sense because I never looked at, you showed all different angles. So it's really important that we're educated as you did, that you educated us on, make sure that, as it goes back to what you initially said, make sure you want to do this and you're ready for being in the military, physically, mentally, you have to be ready to be in that type of environment and understand what all comes with it. I mean, again, I
Mhm.
thank you for your services and for all your knowledge
Thank
that you are pouring out here to us, especially to our people, that we got to understand and start doing better by our children and land these opportunities, which brings us to agriculture. How do you
Mhm.
feel about agriculture, making sure the next generation gets genuine life skill opportunities through that industry? Because as we said, you can't be on this earth without agriculture. Everything is agriculture. The air we breathe, the clothes we wear, water, I mean, everything is agriculture. And trying to get our children actually introduced to it in a very innovative and attractive way to meet them where they are. That's where I'm at. Talk to us about that, how you feel about that.
So I'm always having conversations with people about their skills and the different spaces they could take their skills into, right? And
Uh-huh.
sometimes I meet people who are deeply scientific and they're saying, oh, I'm going to do this thing over here, and having a conversation with them. Actually just recently had a conversation with a veteran, and I was telling them that their biochemical their chemical engineering degree could be put to use in an agricultural way. And I
Yes.
went into the whole conversation about that. And so that's the other part about coaching and mentoring, right? You have to be an informed mentor, you have to be an informed coach. So you have to research. And so I'm researching these different industries, period. I'm always researching different industries to see what's the next thing, and what can we be on the cusp of. And so I'm just saying to students, go to school for what you're interested in
Mm-hmm.
and connected to agriculture. I think we missed the mark when we're talking about it, because everybody is talking about like land and seeds
Mm-hmm.
and growing stuff. And there are so many other things. I mean, like the
It's a
feed
thousand
has to be
careers.
put together, the chemicals and things to take care of the farm, and all, the
Mm-hmm.
technology to run the business, right? There's all these other things that you can be connected to, and it's just a matter of showing people how things connect. And I think that that's just the way my brain works. My brain just works like people say these two things don't go together, and I say, yeah, they might not to you, but let me show you where they connect. That's just my superpower, if you would. So I'm always interested in doing research and looking at the different industries as they're developing.
Yes.
And I could see opportunity for somebody to start a banking industry, a fintech,
Yes.
financial technology that supports agriculture. And so there's,
Yes.
again, these are all the things that I think about. So I don't want to go off into that trail, because we will go too
But
far.
these
But
are some more workshops we need to have, sister. We need to get some workshops on the ground and go through the United States to reach our babies to tell them all these wonderful things that you are talking about, and having the people there on site to give them resources to pursue their dream.
yeah,
I'm
and
one of
they can
those
go to
intentional people.
yeah, they can go to school, they can go to the military, but even if you go to the military, you have to have an end game in mind. You
Okay.
have to know that that's going to end at some point. You're
Mm-hmm.
going to either go and go the full 20, 30. I think it's 30 now. You're going to go that full time and retire. But at the end of that, at 48, you're going to need to come out of there and do another job. Yeah, are you going to
Most
go
definitely.
in and you're going to do two or three tours and then you're going to get out? And so you got to be thinking about like what the end game is. Like, okay, I fire missiles every day. What can
Mm-hmm.
I get into when I get out of the military? So go to some type of technical school, and take those technical skills to the technical school or get your degree or whatever. But when I'm mentoring veterans who are in that transitional phase, that's the conversation. It's like, hey, you can't wait until 3 months to get out. You have to be planning this,
Right.
8, 12, 18 months ahead of time at minimum, so that you can be actually be prepared, and not be such a blow to you, because there's an identity thing that happens when you leave the military. You lose an identity because you're no longer a military personnel. You don't have your rank on your shoulder. You don't have your name tag. People aren't saluting you and saying yes sir, yes ma'am, right? uh, all your resources that were centralized become decentralized. You
Mm-hmm.
now have to go all over the place to find resources because you don't know where it is. Where you had your sergeant or somebody to go to when you're in the military to ask them for help, that doesn't happen unless you're part of a network. So if I would tell anyone, the best thing that you can do is get into networks of people that things that interest you. Go to events and stand around and listen to the people talk. If what they're talking about, you're like, oh my God, why are they still talking about this? Then that's not your people. You got to go find your tribe, the group that make when you're there, it makes you excited. And so my hope is that men and women, but women specifically,
Mm-hmm.
find that this is their tribe, and that this is a place that's supportive and nurturing, you know, uh, to develop in whatever type of business they're going to develop within the agricultural sphere.
That all makes great sense. So I'm gonna pivot a little bit and ask you: had you heard about or any of your people connected to the USDA programs at all prior to the conference? Do you know if any of your colleagues or some of the ones that were at the conference, they were just in like, wow, with knowing about those different resources?
So, yeah, I'm not sure if Connie was familiar with the USDA. I'm from or had worked with the USDA. I'm sure she was familiar with them.
Yes.
I was familiar with them as well. I had never worked with the USDA. I knew that they exist. I worked with people in a different way
Mm-hmm.
who were a part of that agency,
Okay.
but it wasn't where we were talking agriculture. We were talking some other policy thing or some other thing, within the space that we were in. And so when the USDA began to talk about the resources and programs, I do remember veteran talking about those programs and things like that. But the problem was,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a combat veteran. So
Mm-hmm.
many of the programs that are out here, because they put that one word in it, combat veteran, it completely wipes out people who did not serve outside the wire, right? That didn't serve uh, during wartime, right? So
Right.
now these programs have all this money and they have all these resources,
Mm-hmm.
and many times they call me, can you help us with women veteran? And I'm like, well, you got to establish a relationship. I
Mm-hmm.
could post it, but they don't know you. They
Very
don't
good.
even know, you and they know your history.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't wanted to dance with them before. Why do you want to take them to the dance now? So
Right.
it's hard, and so there has to be a grassroots community outreach that is beyond just getting a number or ticking off saying you had so many people. There has to be developing of a relationship where people feel like they are part of a family. They feel
Mhm.
like they are welcomed and honored in that space. That's what's important. I mean, and those are the things that we've been doing at Women Veterans Social Justice Network. Many of our programs have been about honoring and welcoming people who had not been honored and welcomed, right? So
That's right.
we've been been doing that for a while, and so we have the secret sauce, I believe, to how to do that. It's just a matter of um, like it's difficult to roll it out into other spaces when the work hasn't been done to like develop the relationship. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Like it, and I don't always know how to say that without just saying it that way. So yeah.
Well, we just need to have more of these type of conversations and have a platform for others to weigh in or be a part of. I think that hopefully your organization and National Women in Agriculture, we can collaborate more and have some programs like literally we come and do some raised beds, help with that. Collaborate, do some
Yeah.
hands-on training, even how to share part of the food and sell part of the food, some type of project. You all have a wonderful leader. Miss Noreen Whitehead is our Georgia chapter leader, and as well as Miss Susan and others that are there that I know in the Georgia area, they're more than willing to connect with you all. And we hope you all join us in Washington, D.C. God sees fit for us to be there in a couple of months to meet with President Biden and the White House leadership to talk about what minority women have come together and are doing across the world and serving. But again, I wanted to make sure that you all were highlighted because you're our sheroes. And a lot of
Thank you.
times, too many times, I hate to say it, Black women are not showered or praised for their contribution to the United States or to the world. And I thank you
Yeah.
so very much. This kind of ends our show. Do you want to talk about any barriers and then end us up on words of encouragement?
Yeah, so I think thank you. The what I would say is the barriers are just people's mindsets and behaviors, right? And so we have to change those mindsets and behaviors through language and what how we speak about women veteran and how we present women veteran, right? So we want to present women veteran in the highest at the highest level of esteem. The pictures look nice, and we make sure that if their hair is out of place or something's off, before we take a picture, we say, "Oh, we're getting ready to take a picture. Let me fix your," just little things. And it's not always this big thing that makes things better. Sometimes it's just a little thing, just saying we appreciate you, or having
Yes.
somebody, the right person, greet the women veteran or things like that. So welcoming and honoring, if we think about that all the time, if we always think about, am I welcoming this person, am I honoring this person in everything that we do, even
Right.
in the planning stage before you even write anything down. And the words of encouragement that I would say is, it doesn't matter if you struggle, because there are people who have mental health struggles, physical struggles, financial struggles,
Mhm.
and interpersonal struggles, right?
Mhm.
And so it doesn't matter if you've had those challenges. You can come out from those challenges and have success in whatever area it is that makes you grow and blossom, right? So that's what I would say is just find your area that you grow and blossom, get connected into that network, and develop your interpersonal skills and get some mental health, some hugs, emotional opportunities within
Yes.
those spaces. And then and then as you thrive, then participate and give back. And I think that's I'm always going to tell people to serve. And there's different ways to serve. It doesn't always mean that it's a volunteer role. It can
Right.
be that you pick up a role that you putting your hand to it is going to make a difference. And
Most
so I would just encourage women to really examine themselves and do that, and just do that.
You must have said that so eloquently. I mean, like you really, that was phenomenal. This self-assessment, self check yourself and make sure check yourself on all levels. That's what I'm hearing you say, and this self-worth and making sure that you are able to live up to those expectations that you set for yourself. Because again, you could only reach those that you set for yourself, not for someone else. So with that, ending, Ms. McCoy, can you please tell us your full name again? If someone would like to get in touch with you, can you give us all your information? And that will end our Women in Ag Wednesday talk show.
Oh, wow. So my name is Bridgette McCoy, and the organization is Women Veterans Social Justice Network. We can be found on Facebook and on LinkedIn. And those are the best ways to get in touch with us. You can send us a direct message and someone will reach back to you.
Well, I thank you so very much for taking the time out of your day. And literally, you have ended our whole month of July where we saluted all of our sheroes. We have interviewed others that from different various areas of the military branch or the armed force branches. And we had a conference for you all in Atlanta, Georgia, because we wanted to highlight all the wonderful things that our sheroes have done for the United States. And they keep serving. They're veterans of serving in the armed forces, but we wanted you to know what they're doing continuously. They're going on currently and they're serving in the communities. And these are the type of women that we want our children to connect to, the next generation to see exactly what they bring to the table. And with that, you all, I always like to end our talk show and thank all of you for tuning in every Wednesday at 12 noon. If you don't know how to get in touch with us, we do stream live where you can connect with us either on YouTube, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We also have LinkedIn. So you all are welcome to join in. If you would like to be on the talk show, contact us through our website at nwiaa.org. And again, always remember, it's a great day in ag to make that bag. So you all have a blessed day. And thank you so much, Ms. McCoy, again. And thank you for serving and just being you. Have a blessed day.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Woke up this morning to somebody in a video talking about something I posted in a video. If it wasn't me, then would you even get offended? Or is it just because I'm black and heavy, y'all don't hear me though? I've been the same since I've been driving slow on Bridgette. Call up anybody I know and they will tell you that fame is pretty new, but I've been used to people judging me. That's why I move the way I move and why I'm so in love with me. I'm used to feeling alone. So you today, you're special. In case nobody made you believe you're special, well, I will always love you the same. You're special. I'm so glad that you're still with us. Broken, but damn, you're still perfect. Special. Could you imagine a world where everybody's the same and you could cancel a girl cause she just wanted to change? How could you